angle shot, save, rebounds loose, they score! Keeper Bellows goals in 4 straight games. What a goal for Oliver Wahlstrom, a highlight reel tally, cross-ice pass, Wotherspoon scores! Parker Wotherspoon ties the game.
This is a production of the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, proud American Hockey League affiliate of the New York Islanders. On for the return pass extended, Simon Holmstrom, he tracks, shoots, he scores! First in North America for Simon Holmstrom.
I'm head coach Brent Thompson, and this is Sound Tigers Hockey.
Hey Sound Tigers fans, welcome to the show for Tuesday, March the 30th, 2021. I'm Alan Fuehring. This is Sound Up, Sound Tigers team podcast for this 2020-2021 season. Got a great show for you today. Ken Appleby is with us. He's a 6th-year goaltender, but a first-year Sound Tiger who made his debut back on March the 18th with the Sound Tigers against the Hartford Wolfpack. A 4-3 overtime win in that game. But Ken Appleby, a guy who spent a lot of time in the American Hockey League, a former New Jersey Devils prospect, a lot of time in the ECHL as well, and 3 games with New Jersey in the NHL, making his debut back in 2018. A lot to talk about with him, including some relationships from the past that now resurface with the Sound Tigers, including Seth Helgason, the team captain, and also Mitch Van de Sompel, one of the Sound Tigers' key defensemen, and a New York Islanders prospect. Well, lately things have been rough again for the Sound Tigers and the New York Islanders farm team. A 5-2 setback in their only game last weekend. That was up at the XL Center in Hartford, a 5-2 loss. And now through 4 games in that season series, the home team has won every one of them. That season series is even at 2 wins apiece. Sound Tigers get Hartford at home this Friday, though, so they'll try to continue that trend and pick up their 3rd win in 5 games against Hartford this year. Prior to that, they've got a game on Wednesday against Providence, another home game at Webster Bank Arena. And again, last weekend wasn't too friendly for the Sound Tigers. They allowed a couple of power play goals early on and also a shorthanded goal in the second period. They were down 3-0, and that was the case until Cole Bardreau scored twice. He became the first Sound Tiger this season to score multiple goals in the same game, and because of those 2 goals, including one just 12 seconds into the 3rd period, that kept the game close all the way through the middle stages of the 3rd. Hartford got 2 more goals late, won it 5-2, and so the Sound Tigers 3-8-0 in their first 11 games of this season. They'll try to turn things around and get back in the win column this week at home. Ken Appleby has only played in one of those games for the Sound Tigers this year because Jakob Skarek, the Islanders prospect, has been in net for 7 of the first 11 games. CJ Mott has also played in 3 contests, and the 4th goalie at one point on the Sound Tigers roster was Francis Marat, a rookie out of Clarkson University. He's actually been loaned to the ECHL and to the Allen Americans, more specifically. On Friday, he was loaned there, and he made his ECHL debut that night in a pretty good effort, 27 saves in a 5-2 win over Rapid City. So Marat playing well in the ECHL to start his career there. And the Sound Tigers, without him, now have 3 goalies on their roster. Again, one of them is Ken Appleby, and we'll see if he's in net at any point this week or in the near future. But what a guy he is, what a career he's already had. He's in his 6th professional season, and nothing quite like this. Like everybody else, he's going through these unusual times, and we bring him in now. And Ken, thanks so much for joining us. I'm curious, first of all, fill in the blank for me. This season has been
different.
That's a good word. That's good.
I mean, in all aspects of just going to the rink every day, like in the morning, how all of our arrival times are spaced out, just to keep the traffic kind of low in the change room, and and then just all the procedures, masks everywhere we go. Fortunately, what they've done here with us has been a great system where when it comes to, food delivery, they don't want us going out as much. So I think that's been a great, a great thing that they have going for us. And I know a lot of guys appreciate it, and I've definitely appreciated it too. It, minimizes my risk, but obviously, we're not the only ones going through different times here. And you just got to kind of be fortunate appreciative that we were able to even play hockey this year. So it's been different, but it's just nice to be back here and playing games.
Well, that's great to look at the big picture there and talk about, it means a lot to your real life and everything, and minimizing risk and everything. But at the end of the day, you get to play hockey, which is what it's all about. And I mean, you also brought up the fact that you guys get groceries delivered. Not a lot of teams do that, especially at this level and in these times. The Sound Tigers, the New York Islanders, really taking care of you guys. I mean, you guys are pretty much either at the rink or at your residence, right? You're not going to the grocery stores, you're not going to the mall, nothing outside of the rink and your living space.
Yeah, I mean, going into this, I kind of, we had all these Zoom calls throughout the off season leading up to, this season, and they kind of laid everything out and told us, we're going to try and minimize risk as much as possible and do everything that they can on their end to, help us out so that we don't have to, expose ourselves. And I think they've done a great job. I've been very impressed with what the organization has done. And like I said, it's been a great system that they've had going for us.
You've been a pro hockey player ever since 2015, so many years now. Have you ever used Zoom this much?
No, I was kind of late to it too. When this whole quarantine and everything started, you saw everyone was doing their classes or work calls over Zoom, and I was like, I wonder if I'm ever going to have to use that. And sure enough, we started once I signed, and we started having all these Zoom calls. I was very confused. I wasn't very used to it at all. Still not, honestly. It's still a little. I'm still a little shy to press that unmute button, but
we all are. I talk for a living, and I hate doing that too. And I mean, I'm 31, so I'm a few years older than you. I'm in the same boat. I went through all the way through, high school, college. I never used Zoom at all, and now all of a sudden, I mean, I probably have 3 a day, and that's a light day.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like getting up in front of the class and doing a presentation, which I was never really fond of. But this is definitely the most I've ever used Zoom, FaceTime, any of those things.
Well, you were so accurate when you said that this year has been different, because it all boils down to that, unique, different for you last summer, trying to stay in shape. I read an article in preparing for this interview about how you were at home in North Bay, Ontario, and all the rinks were closed. There wasn't a lot of ice available. You had to find other ways to stay in shape and stay fit. What did you do to make that time go by, and not only make it go by, but do so productively?
We did a lot of, I guess you can call it like unconventional things. I was fortunate enough to be friends with one of the other, there's a goalie back home from my hometown, and his dad's a OPP officer who runs the training facility for the officers. And with everything kind of being shut down, they had no use for their big gym. So we were able to set up kind of like a shooting range in the gym where it was just a couple of us, and I would get fully suited up in my gear. I'd wear rollerblades or steel toe boots to protect the toes, and we just sit there and have someone shoot pucks at us. And there was no ice in at my hometown, so that was just our way of seeing pucks and seeing shots. And it was like that for a couple of months. And while that was going on too, when I first moved home, I moved in with my parents before recently buying a house, and then I'm sure I know they weren't too fond of it, especially my dad, because I was taking up a lot of his garage space. But I turned his garage into a little home gym, because obviously all the gyms were closed too. So it was very, like I said, different, going back to that word, this off season, just training. But I like to think I made the most of it, and you just kind of got to work with what you've got and work with the hand you're dealt. So I think we did that this summer.
Last year, prior to the shutdown, you were on an AHL contract with Milwaukee. Over this offseason, you signed with the Sound Tigers, an AHL debut deal just before we got going, and you made your Sound Tigers debut just a few weeks ago. But I'm curious, over the offseason, when you agreed to that deal with Bridgeport, what factored into that decision?
There's a few things. I know Chris from when he was part of the Devils organization, who was the team that I initially signed my entry-level deal with. And, there was Lou Lamoriello was there, I think my first year for a little bit. So, I mean, and then of course, working with Chris Terreri, T-Bone, I got to work with him a little bit as well when I was with the Devils organization. So just like a lot of familiar faces, which was kind of nice. When you come to a new organization, there's a lot of new faces and a lot of unknowns, and to, kind of join an organization who, you're familiar with some of the people there in them, and you're joining an organization who they're very good people and they treat you well. I think that factored into it big time. And then of course, just seeing, big picture, their goalie like development program that they have here, with, starting with Mitch Korn and everyone else. I think it was a great opportunity to be able to work with them and work with, what they're doing here. If you look at, previous goalies who they've worked with in the past, if you're just looking at the Islanders like Varlamov or Leonard, they were all able to get great results out of them. And if you say turn their season around, but they're definitely able to help them out. And that's something that Chris talked to me about. And I was just very excited to get the call from them and very fortunate to be here, honestly.
You brought up T-Bone, Chris Terreri, which not a lot of people know him well because he's a guy who likes to stay, in the background behind the scenes and really just concentrate and focus on, you guys, Jakob Skarek, CJ Mott, the other guys who are here with the Sound Tigers now. But, he's a character behind the scenes. I'm curious to know your guys' relationship going even back to the New Jersey Devils organization days.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. He's awesome to have around. And then obviously, of course, him just playing a very good, like having a very long career in the NHL and being, having been in our position, he understands what we go through on a daily basis and he's able to relate. So, he's awesome to have around. He keeps it light. And obviously, like you said, he's just, keeps to himself, but treats his guys very well. And, that's all you can ask for. He works as hard. Sometimes, wish I took it a little bit easier on us, but it's all like just to make us better, and that's what you got to look at it for, and that's why I really enjoy working with them too. So
you played against Bridgeport. I looked back 5 different times, either with Albany or Binghamton, prior to coming to this organization. Now, of course, you're playing in Bridgeport's crease. What do you remember about playing against a Brent Thompson-led club before you came here?
I just remember it being not very fun coming here. For whatever reason, I remember them having very good teams, and like you said, that was a little while ago. But I remember them having very hard teams to play against, and it was never very fun because you knew that they were going to play you hard, and they were going to hit you, and they were going to forecheck you very hard. So every game, from what I remember, is them just being battles. I think I had my first career AHL start here against them in Bridgeport. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
We'll look back.
Yeah, we'll have to look back at that. I could be very wrong, but I remember it going badly. That's all I know. But yeah, no, like I said, just very tough games against them.
We'll look it up real quick. You'll get the answer here in the next couple of minutes. In the meantime, you made your Sound Tigers debut back on March the 18th against the Hartford Wolfpack. Got a win in that game, a 4-3 overtime win. Of course, Otto Koivula scored the winner in that one. You outdueled New York Rangers prospect Tyler Wall in that one. To start the year anyway, Keith Kincaid played the first 2 games for Hartford. He's since been recalled to the taxi squad there, but he's the guy that you relieved to make your NHL debut back in 2018 game against the Philadelphia Flyers. How much were you hoping that you got to play against Keith Kincaid in your Sound Tigers debut?
Yeah, well, when I first, since I joined the team late, I first came down and they played a game on the road against Hartford, and I was able to watch the game when they were in Hartford during my quarantine. And I hadn't known that he had signed, I forgot that he signed with New York, and that he was down here in Hartford. And I was like, oh, that's funny, Kincaid's down here. And then I thought a little deeper into it, and I was like, that'd be funny to play against him, as opposed to backing him up or being on the same team together. I didn't really put much thought into it, but it would have been very cool though. We weren't like very close, but whenever you play with a goalie, it's always fun to kind of duel them or get a win against them or whatever. It would have been would have been a cool experience for sure.
Yeah, you've played 3 NHL games with New Jersey. Came in relief of Keith Kincaid back on January the 20th, 2018. You also got a start in there against Nashville. Obviously, that's the top of the hockey world, the National Hockey League. You've reached that pinnacle, looking to get back there. What do you remember about those 3 games? I mean, obviously, as a fan, you love to see guys come through the system, come through the ECHL, the AHL, and get there. And the fans are almost just as happy as you are to get there. But, for you, I imagine, that first phone call sent off a lot of different emotions, and then actually getting there, being around NHL teammates and playing, it's got to be something special.
Yeah. Like you said, a lot of different emotions. But no, it was definitely something special. I mean, growing up in a small town in Canada, that's pretty much all you grow up knowing. If you're tossed on skates at 3 years old, 4 years old, and you watch the Leafs or whoever it was every day or every Saturday night growing up with your family, and you just hope to make it there one day. And I was fortunate enough to be able to get that call up and be able to get a little bit of time in there. And I tried to really just soak it all in and enjoy the experience. It was very nerve-wracking time, but it was awesome. I still look back on it, and I really am thankful for the opportunity that they gave me. Obviously, I hope to get back there someday, and I think now getting that little bit of time in there, I'll be a little bit more prepared, as opposed to when back in 2018 when I was a little younger. Yeah, like you said, it was a very special moment for me and something I won't forget.
By the way, as you were finishing that up, I did look back. Yes, your AHL debut against the Sound Tigers in Bridgeport with Albany in that game. So you're spot on. Your memory serves you correct.
What was it, like a 4-1 game or 3-1?
Yeah, I mean, you only faced 20 shots, and it wasn't a lot going against you. Yeah, it was a 4-1 final score.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Hey, more with Ken Appleby in just a moment. First, though, we're going to turn to our stat of the week.
Let me give you a little education, mister.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
Well, today's March the 30th of 2021, which means 21 years ago from this past Sunday was March the 28th of 2000. That, I guess, is Bridgeport's official birthday, as the Sound Tigers became a franchise in the eyes of the American Hockey League on that day. The AHL awarded a franchise to Bridgeport, Connecticut back then, and during that season, the inaugural season 2001-2002, there were officially 27 teams in the AHL, and Bridgeport was a part of a 5-team East Division back then. And, of course, now the AHL ballooning to more than 30 teams. A little bit different this year because of the pandemic and only 28 playing. But back then in that inaugural season, 27 AHL teams, the Sound Tigers a part of that. And now back with Ken Appleby on the Sound Up podcast. And, Ken, You mentioned being a Maple Leafs fan growing up, or living 3.5 hours north of Toronto in North Bay, Ontario. We talked with Jakub Szkarek on last week's podcast, and he kind of said, over in the Czech Republic, he grew up in a family of athletes, but becoming a hockey player was kind of an accident. He never planned on that, and he never really pursued that until he found out that he was decent at it and knew if he worked hard enough, he could get to this level. For you, growing up in Canada, I mean, was it maybe not something you thought you would do professionally, but you said, okay, I'm going to give this a shot because all my friends are, everybody else I know is playing hockey, so I've got to as well?
Yeah, it was, going pro and making it this far was never something I thought I'd be able to attain, reach and attain. Even just playing, junior hockey in the OHL before I signed pro, leading up to being drafted in the OHL, I wasn't even really much aware of it, but it was just something I really enjoyed. I really loved playing hockey, whether it was, outside at the outdoor rinks with my friends or on teams. I was kind of a late bloomer, so I never really was sure how I was going, how my career would pan out. But unfortunately, I've had some, my parents and very supportive people and very good people to have in my corner coming up who was able to, get me through those times of a little bit of uncertainty, being a late bloomer, and help me develop and fill into my body, because I grew really fast and I was very skinny when I was young, and it was very awkward. So being a goalie when you're 6'4", like 170 pounds can look very awkward at times. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely not something I thought about when I was younger, but as you grow up and you play in teams and, you have good years, and whatever, you kind of see, you're like, okay, maybe we can go up a level, or maybe I'm ready for this. And fortunately things have worked out so far.
Did you always want to be a goalie?
Not really, no.
Before we started this conversation, you said, you know what, I'm not too much of a weird guy. Like, I'm a pretty normal goalie. I thought that was interesting, because usually, the goaltenders are, a little bit different. I mean, why would you want to stand in the net and have shots just hammered at you and have to just take them? But, I mean, you seem like a pretty normal guy. I'm curious how you ended up between the pipes.
Yeah, I mean, I was a player for quite a while there. I'd play out, and I think, if I remember it correctly, from what I can remember, I would always skate down and I would stand in front of our goalie, because I never trusted our goalie. So I would try to block the shots for him. So then I just remember my dad just recommending, why don't you try playing net? And I think it was like my first game that I played net, I got a shutout or something like that, of course. And he's like, oh, maybe this is what you're good at.
Destiny.
Yeah. So as far as I can remember, that's how things played out. But I mean, when I go home, I love playing out like forward and all that. And, all positions I kind of enjoy playing. So.
Sure. Any superstitions?
I would say like superstitions. I'd say more so like routines, just that I just like to stick to. I don't do anything crazy where I have to do one thing every single time, before games and all that. I think when I was younger, I used to have a lot of superstitions, and then I think eventually they just kind of became too much, to the point where, if one thing went wrong, then everything was thrown off. So throughout the years, I've kind of learned that you need to, especially playing pro hockey, there's things that happen throughout the year that you need to be able to adjust to and be ready for. And you can't have all these superstitions, because not everything's going to go perfectly every day.
What other goaltenders do you enjoy watching?
Ooh, I've been watching a lot of hockey, especially with the quarantine last year. And there's a lot of goalies that I do enjoy watching. I love watching Carey Price. Trying to think right now. I've watched a lot of Jacob Markstrom in Calgary, Philip Grubauer on Colorado.
What is it about them that you like? I'm curious. Like, on my side of things, as a guy who has been in broadcasting for many years now, and a play-by-play guy, it's really tough for me to watch a game on TV now without listening. Like, I can't really watch a game. I have to just always be paying attention to what the announcers are saying. It's just my own little thing. For a hockey player, and more specifically for a goaltender, can you watch a game without really just ultra sensitive and detailed on what the goalie's doing?
Yeah, that's kind of the opposite for me. Like, I can just sit there and watch the goalie himself and not really watch the plays that's going on around him. I'll do that sometimes, just to kind of like focus in on what they're doing. I like to, I like to look at goalies and kind of try and relate to them, or see the things that they do and then try them out for myself. If like a guy like I said, Markstrom on Calgary, he's a very big goalie, and I consider myself a fairly big goalie myself, being 6'4", and the way that he moves is something that I admire for his size. And you see little things like that. If you see a tall goalie, you want to see how they move or how they do certain things. And then if you watch like a guy like a Grubauer, obviously he's a smaller goalie. And I think Mitch Korn worked with him, actually. He's a smaller goalie, but he moves very well in the net. And it's like, obviously, me being the size I am, it's going to be very hard for me to move as well as he does. But you see something like that and you're like, well, I really want to try that out. I really want to try these things and implement that in my game. So yeah, I just like to, I find that very funny though, like you saying how you have to listen to what the announcers are saying. But I kind of am able to just like blank them out and watch the goalies. But there are times though when the announcers, being a goalie, I'm always biased in my opinion.
Yeah.
So if the announcers are like giving it to the goalies or something, like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Talking with Ken Appleby here on the Sound Up podcast. Ken, this went by so quickly. I got time for just a couple more questions, and I want to touch on a couple of relationships because the hockey world is full of these close connections and, more importantly, good people. And you've played with a couple of really good people over the years that is now kind of circled back to your teammates here with the Sound Tigers. For one, the captain of the team right now, Seth Helgason, you're with him in Albany. What's the dynamic there? What do you guys like?
Yeah, I was with Helgi my first year, my rookie year. And I think maybe my second year, I think he was still there. But I mean, I obviously hadn't played with him since then. It's been a while, so it was kind of funny seeing him again here. And I was very excited because I just remembered, I was excited when I signed here because I remembered playing with him back in Albany, that he blocked a lot of shots. And
yep. Makes your job easier.
That he was a very goalie friendly type guy. And as a goalie, you love those kind of guys. You love to have them on your team. And, so I just, Helgi's an awesome guy. He's definitely deserving of the captaincy, obviously. The guys love him in the dressing room. And he's just like a great guy to have around in the dressing room every day. He keeps things light. He jokes around with everyone. Doesn't matter who you are. And I remember that from back in the day, and it was funny coming here. I was like, things haven't changed, so it was pretty funny.
And another one, you brought up your time in the OHL prior to turning pro. You didn't just play for a Memorial Cup winning team in 2015, but you played very well there too, winning the OHL championship and then the Memorial Cup with Oshawa. A couple of other guys on that team in 2014-15, I looked it up. Michael Dalcol, who's with the Islanders right now, and Mitch Van de Sample, a teammate of yours. The more things change, the more they circle back and stay the same.
Yeah. Like you said, well, very small, tight-knit community. And it's pretty cool. You after winning a championship like that back in junior hockey, and, some guys you may never see again or you might not see that much. Everyone kind of moves on to their own teams that they're drafted to or signed with. And then just, coming back full circle and getting, after a few years and getting to play with guys that you spent a significant amount of time with and won together with. It's pretty cool to see where they're at in their careers as well, and just come back and like nothing's changed over the years. We had a great team back then, and obviously with Vandy and Dalcol, I haven't seen him yet since being here, but we were very close. When I was in Oshawa, Dalcol lives at a billet family, his house, a couple doors down from me. So we were together quite a bit. And I was very excited to sign here, just knowing that they were in the organization and that, just familiar faces again. It's pretty cool.
Ken Appleby and the Sound Tigers back at it this week, Wednesday and Friday. You guys are going to see a lot of Hartford coming up, 7 of 10 games in April against the Wolfpack, but you got Providence first on Wednesday. Looking forward to it. This was a lot of fun, Ken. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.